Welcome to the Behind the Art Inspiration podcast, a sneak peek into the studio practices of all types of artists, conversations for artists, and fans of art who are sophisticated and savvy. I'm your host and curator, Caroline Karp. Let's get to it. Hello, everyone. This is episode number 7 of the Behind the Art Inspiration podcast. And in this episode, I'll be traveling from my Safety Harbor, Florida studio north to Chicago in the United States of America and into the studio of my friend, artist, curator, entrepreneur, and coach, Sergio Gomez. And you can read more about him in my show notes because, he's a really busy guy. So how you doing, Sergio?
Hi, Caroline. Super happy. Happy Sunday. Very excited to be here with you. Happy to be number 7. I love number 7. So I think it's a lucky episode for me.
That's great. And you know what, Sergio, I just had to tell you what I have made for breakfast.
Great.
Because I know, you do, and the way I met you, actually the way that you came into my existence was with your Breakfast with Sergio.
That's right.
Episodes. And so I just want to show you, maybe you can see.
Oh, that looks good. What is it?
What it is, it's sort of like a French toasty kind of thing.
Okay.
That I had soaking all morning. And it's got sourdough bread and blueberries baked in. And on top, I made a mixture of cherries and raspberries and blackberries with lemon.
Yes.
And I usually don't eat this decadently, but I'm so excited because my son came home. Sebastian came home from college.
Very cool.
So I made it for him. We are social distancing, obviously, because he just came from up north. So
right.
Yeah, but what did you have for breakfast?
Very good. Well, you really beat me this time. This is my breakfast today, which is almost over. I've been drinking lately during breakfast a shake that I make. That has oatmeal, has papaya, has banana, blueberries, and then a couple supplements that I put in there. And that's been my typical breakfast lately. And of course, when I do the show, I make something more prepared. Other than that, I just go with a quick something like this. And also, I usually have a bowl of yogurt with all kinds of different nuts.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
So I invited you today because I actually want to hear what you're such an advocate for so many other artists. But I actually want to hear about the inspiration behind your work.
Excellent. Absolutely. Where do you want me to start?
You talked about, I know something that you're putting on right now is, I guess you call it the Small Works Challenge. Mm-hmm. And you can tell me the significance of calling it that, because it's not that it's work that's any less beautiful and wonderful, but go ahead and tell me more about that.
Yeah, so it's a great place to start, actually, because I'm known for my large paintings. I typically do life size or bigger type of work, and I've been doing that for the last 20 years. That's how most people know me. And for for so many years I've been working that way. And about 7 years ago or 6 years ago, I can't remember exactly, I had the idea like, well, what if every at the end of the year I do a series of small works, and like just as you said, not because they are less important as the other ones, but because the reality is that most people don't have space for a large work or the budget, and there's so many people out there in the world that have been coming to my audience that I said, well, if I do something special for them, I think they would appreciate it. And I sure did. I did 41 winters. I was 41 years old back then, and that was the whole idea of kind of doing work for one of my years or my winters. And I launched it, and it went really well. It was very successful. And then I said, well, I should do that again next year. So the next year I came up with another idea. So that kind of became a tradition for me and for my followers, to have always something that's kind of small at the end of the year, again, as an entryway into my work. And also, that's kind of like the practical side of it. But then as I started doing it more, I realized that also the importance for me as an artist to switch my mind from working large to how do I bring this, which I do in large scale, into a small scale, right? And that for me was a challenge in itself, right? Not only marketing wise, but also studio wise. And I think I became a better painter and artist when I, really was able to switch back and forth in that way. So actually, I'm going to give you a quick preview, Caroline, of what I will be releasing on November 30th. Actually, I was working late last night in the studio. So here's one of the pieces right here.
Yeah.
Right in front. So it's a series called Serenity.
Yes.
And it's about regaining balance. It's something that we can all, I think, agree that 2020 wasn't exactly the year we all expected it to be. So we are kind of trailing to get to the end of it. So like, what if I do a series in which, the pieces are about, or regaining our sense of balance, right? Whatever that means for everybody. And there we go. And I know you're an advocate for that too, wellness and things like that. So each of these pieces, I have about, I think, 17 or something like that. I'm still trying to figure it out. So here, semi-finished. I'm still doing some touch-ups. But each of the pieces has 3 circles.
I see.
Identifying mind, body, and soul. Right. So each circle represents the mind, the body, and the soul of each one of us. And they are playful. They are not always symmetrical. The circles in terms of how they're positioned on the piece. But I like that playfulness and the idea that, these circles are interconnected with each other. They overlap or they connect through a line in some way. And it's kind of a way for us to, or at least for me, this whole series is an exercise of balance and focus. Definitely this year is totally different to what I expected it to be. So that's what this series is about. And it releases on the 30th of November. And something that I have been doing for the last, I think, 4 or 5 years is 4 years, I think, is inviting artists to do it with me every year and inside my academy. So we do the Small Words Art Sales Challenge, where not only myself, but a bunch of others from around the world, we join and we do this together, and it's pretty fun.
Right. And so from your inspiration, I think we have an echo all of a sudden. Do we have an echo?
I hear you okay.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
I heard myself echoing. Anyways, from your inspiration of working with other artists from around the world, that's kind of where I came up with the International Online Art Collective. That are from your program, and it's kind of like a subset of the program.
Yeah.
And the idea for this podcast to actually deepen my connection with other artists from places. Now, going back to your works, the figures that I saw on your small works, in your larger works, are those figures more life-size?
Yeah, so in a typical work of mine, the figure is life-size. So a lot of times it's an actual trace of an individual. Sometimes might be my own trace. Sometimes might be one of my kids or somebody that, poses for me. And they're not portraits of the person. They just, reference humanity in general. So yeah, I've been inspired, kind of like the first question, what inspires my work in general. For the last almost 20 years since my son was born, I decided to kind of dedicate my work to exploring the cycles of life. As I see a human being grow in my lifetime, through my kids, both of them, I have 2, a boy and a girl. I've been trying to understand those cycles. And as I get older too, how we transition from one cycle to the next, from one season to the next. And so those cycles are really interesting to me, and also kind of our spiritual and mindfulness awareness throughout those cycles, how we connect with each other, how we connect with ourselves, and things like that.
It's really fascinating to me because in hearing you speak, of course, I'm not doing figures, but I almost liken sailboats.
Yeah.
To the soul of people.
Right.
And as you can see behind me, this is just one sailboat, just shifting through the sea, which could also be the stages of life.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah. So your son is 20.
My son is right now 19, actually, and my daughter, she's 15. So they've been a great inspiration in terms of seeing them. Now, when they were small, it was really easy to get them to pose and,
Yes.
trace them. Now as they get older, they're like, nah.
I'm done with that.
Yes, and I'm moving on.
And so I guess later on, like in the future, you'll have grandchildren to be able to further your inspiration.
Yeah, I never thought about that. I hope so.
Yeah,
Or at least I can borrow somebody else's kids.
exactly. So Sergio, thank you so much for coming live with me here. And I'd like to interview you in the future. When we get past 2020, which I actually call it a worldwide pause. It's almost like everybody is pausing. Well, I would like to think everyone is pausing and taking this time to really go deeply into things that they believe and things that they want to put out into the world and how to communicate with other people and connect. I've actually kind of really enjoyed the time. I mean, I know there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the world that is not so great, but I've turned my home into, since I'm sheltering in place, to a studio. Now it's a broadcast studio. And I know that you've done the same thing, and we've made spaces to be able to keep creating and then connecting with other artists around the world to help each other. And I mean, I'm constantly talking to people, over in Europe about what it's like, because they're going back into lockdown.
Right.
And I was talking to Barbara last week in Milan, and she's suddenly not able to go to her studio. So what does that look like? Well, she's going to work smaller and has brought some stuff home, and her family is around her. So,
So it's funny how, what the pause that you're talking about, right? At the beginning, or when we all came in terms with that pause, like, wow, what's going to happen. And then the longer we stayed in there, we started to find other avenues and other ways to create something. For you has been like these sessions that you're doing right now and everything that you mentioned, and for me, other things as well. And how, this pause for us who are creative, became just another force that we had to figure out how to go around it and continue creating, continue making new things.
exactly.
I think most artists that I know, rather than just hiding out and not showing up, we are finding different ways of showing up, which is great.
Right. And if you all want to learn more about Sergio, and he's connected with, can you tell me the galleries you're connected with?
Yeah, so I have my own gallery, which I started in 2004. It's called 33 Contemporary Gallery.
Right.
We focus on figurative realism work right now, and we are on Artsy as well, which you can find. We have an inventory of about 1,700 works right now from artists from around the world, and I'm also curator for the Joby Art Center here in Chicago as well, which you can find all those links from my Instagram at Sergio Gomez Art as well. And of course, in terms of the curatorial practice right now, that's kind of on hold, also because of the restrictions we have here in Chicago and everything else. So we're looking forward to 2021, hopefully going back to more curatorial work, which for me, I was used to. Every third Friday of the month, there was a new show, new opening. Right now, everything is like very quiet.
Right. And hey, I forgot to mention this. I am going to be having a virtual solo show January 21st.
Very cool.
Of 2021. It's got a lot of 21s in it.
Yeah.
And it's my Sails, Souls, and Sparkles.
Oh, very cool. Awesome.
Show. And I'd love for you to be there.
Absolutely.
Virtually. That's what's great about having a virtual show, is that people who wouldn't be able to travel to where you are can now come on live.
Exactly.
And actually, I have Jennifer Pazienza.
Yeah, of course, from Canada.
Is going to be curating the show for me.
Oh,
so
exciting.
It's a collaboration, and
how cool is that?
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
About that.
And that's one of the other, one of the other great things that, if this pandemic had happened, 15 years ago, we wouldn't have all these avenues to do what we're doing right now. Even galleries, museums, they went in full force into online exhibitions and finding ways to start. And I think for artists, that's a great thing as well, because now there are so many tools where we can curate and create our very own projects as well. We have the same tools that a gallery or a museum will have, and very affordable to us, which is great.
Right. And so this is my first time using Kunst Matrix.
Oh, I love it.
If people are interested to kind of witness what it's like to do something for the very first time, I might be somebody that's kind of fun to watch.
It's going to be great. I can't wait to see it. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Well, Sergio, stay right there. I'm going to take us off of our live broadcast, and I just want to say goodbye to everyone and thank you for watching us.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you again for having me here, and thanks for all our friends. Please connect with me. We'd love to hear from you as well.
Sounds good.